Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Highway to the Threemus Zone. My name is PixelTamer. I am joined here in the booth by Smaepdii. Behind the scenes, we have Demarine running the Restream and Jofes Mano running the button pushing. How's everybody doing tonight? How are you, Smaepdii?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Really excited for this matchup today. As I honestly will be for every match going through the tournament. These are some of the absolute best racers in the game. Getting to see them go head to head here in a 2 out of 3 format. It's really great. A lot on the line here tonight. Of course, Antidale took game one with a match that I believe was decided by only 4 minutes. So very close.
2 minutes according to the official record, so
Oh,
even closer.
2 minutes. Wow, even closer than I thought. So yeah, these are two very closely matched racers here. Antidale 1 win away from taking this. CoffeeAndChocobos has got to win tonight to force a game 3.
Yeah, if not, Antidale will be the first person into the round of 8, and will have the notoriety of being the first person to complete all their matches in a round before Dia.
Dia always getting to those matches very quickly, so that is that is quite the accomplishment there. We've got some very interesting objectives here.
Yeah,
very
we're going to be underground.
focused. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Hope you brought your asbestos pajamas because we are going to be hanging out in Lava Land today.
That's right. We need to find and deliver the pan to Yang. We need to go up the Tower of Babel and defeat whoever's taken the spot of Dr. Luge. And we need to actually use the Luca key for once.
Yes, we do. Thankfully, it's only unlocked the sealed cave. Our runners don't have to go through that giant labyrinth and get to the end. But you never know. The key item down there and the boss down there might be crucial to completion. So that might still be something that's required. We'll have to wait and see.
Yes, and we've got Sid as our starting character. Sid's pretty decent for the early game. He's got some good health, some decent attack power. He's got some good late game potential, but how do you feel about starting with Sid?
Oh, I love Sid. I've always been a fan of Sid. It's really kind of in the end game where it sort of suffers. Well, speaking of end games, there's Yang and a hook to start, so that might be our underworld access right there. But yeah, back to Sid. He is really a sight for sore eyes early on in a seed. He comes at a very hefty level with a decent amount of HP that can tank through most things in the overworld. Does decent enough damage and has some really solid equips you can find for him. And he turns into a fantastic agility anchor into the late game, so really solid character.
Yeah, and we saw Hamet taking the role of Baigan today, giving us a hook, as you mentioned, and our second character is Yang. Neither of our runners took Yang yet, but he has some good potential as well due to his lack of dependency on equipment.
Absolutely, and given the way experience bonuses work in free enterprise, Yang is a phenomenal candidate for slingshotting later in the game if our runners are feeling their damage is a little lacking and they get access to one of those big grind options. Yang is a phenomenal source of giving that XP to, since most of his damage is going to come from his raw level instead of equipment that you find.
Yeah, his claws give no attack power, so it's really all about the stat gains. And we see Rosa in the Watery Pass, considered by many to be the best white mage in the late game.
Yes, indeed. There are only 2 drawbacks to Rosa, really, when you think about it. Her access to the exit spell is locked behind story progression. You have to use that to get it, which, if you don't have anyone else to cast exit, can be a little bit of a drawback. Other thing is that she gets a little bit later access to that all-important Berserk spell that you would want on your melee fighters than somebody like Porum would give you. Other than that, Rose is a phenomenal character. Is going to go wonderfully into the end game and be all the healing that you need.
Yeah, and while we were talking, we found a Sorcerer's Robe in the secret room in the Watery Pass. That's going to be great for that white mage we just picked up.
Exactly, yeah. Rose is going to like that very much. And a little first bit of the workings here.
Both the runners took that Rosa.
Yeah, I wouldn't surprise me at all. It's usually we've seen some runners sort of dismiss all the characters early, sort of put them all at the Tower of Wishes, and then sort of pick what team they want after they've sort of gotten a better idea of what characters are available. There are very few instances where a Rose is available that you're not going to want to take her this early.
Yeah, Poison Axe and Strength Ring in the basement of Damsian Castle. That's going to be really good to kickstart that Sid.
Yeah, definitely. Poison Axe, not the greatest axe, just because of the massively low accuracy that it has. but it's certainly going to be better than Sid starting equipment. And if you keep Sid in that middle spot, get that accuracy bonus, you get a little bit more use out of that.
That's right, 25% additional accuracy for the character in the middle slot.
Oh, there's another monk.
There is another monk. We did not see the character in the Kaipo bed, but we did see Thor Rages in the Kaipo item shop.
Yeah, always good to see those early. You never know where Kainaza is going to be hiding around. Can be a very, very sneaky boss. Thor Rages help neutralize him. Plus, Thor Rages have some other very niche uses as well. If you need to plink something late game for some very quick damage, like one of the searchers, or something just to trigger a damage-based counter, Thor Rages is very good for that. And Antidale, very early dive into Antline Cave here.
I mean, as long as it's not like Wyvern or something, it should be pretty safe.
Yeah, certainly. Like, Sid is going to be a very good insurance policy against most bosses you're going to see on the overworld here. Just like we said, because he has such a huge statistical advantage when you recruit him.
Yeah, one other neat thing about the Thor Rage that we didn't go over is if you're feeling particularly bold and have really good timing, you can use it to one-shot Odin.
Yes, not something you want to go into without practicing because it is incredibly strict timing. But yes, you can one-shot Odin with lightning ability, and Thor Rage is the perfect candidate for that. A little bit of equipment rearrangement here from Antidale, and then he's going to go into that boss and give us our first look at a key item check here.
Yep, and I saw the short bow briefly equipped on Sid, setting up that back row glitch.
Oh, and CoffeeAndChocobos right on Antidale's trail, taking that hovercraft route into the Antlion Cave. I always like to see that.
Yeah, I think it's technically a few frames faster.
Yeah, it's a very zigzaggy path though, so you got to be a little bit confident in your execution, but definitely cool. And there's the elements. Not a terribly difficult fight here.
Nah, be surprised if we just deal with this one or two attacks.
And yeah, normally 1,000 HP at this spot, but based on the way the elements share HP, if you do enough, you can just go right past the rest of the forms. And there's the pan. That is really great to see before you go underground.
That is required. Almost certainly required anyway. You'll technically not use the pan, but you're going to use the pan if you get it.
Yes. The pan is just so much value on these flag sets. It gives you access to an extra Sheila check. The Sylphs will give you another key item check, and it lets you just kind of roll everything into one down there. Just really, really great to see that.
Right. In a lot of Master Fabul trips, do you think because we already underground, people are just going to say, dive the hook and...
And CoffeeAndChocobos picking up his pan as well. Antidale has got the hovercraft in tow. Is going to go ahead and drop that off over by Cave Evelyn to get ready for any potential hook dive. No, looks like he might be actually checking the character himself right now.
Could be. Bold plays are probably how you're going to win an event of this skill level.
Yeah, there are a couple of characters here that would be fantastic to see. One of Edge is a character that a lot of people really, really like in here. And since this is a key item that this is a character check that is gated by a key item, Edge can appear here. Of course, Tella is a very useful character just because of his massively large spell list, giving him a ton of utility. So yeah, an early grab like that could be very useful here for Antidale.
Yeah, and we did the Sylph summon in the item shop there, which makes Rydia much more useful at lower levels.
Yeah, I really like Sylph, especially when I'm looking down a potential hook route, because of the healing that it provides. Not only is it going to do significant damage, well, there's that Tella we were talking about over on Hub.
And a Moon Sparkle.
Yeah, oof. Who is that going to be? Just Plague. Not a huge problem. But yeah, back to Rydia, like you mentioned, yeah, that Sylph, very, very useful. Solid damage, it bypasses Reflect, so bosses such as CPU that have wall set up or Baigan are no longer a threat, and does substantial healing to your party at once. Just phenomenal action economy there. Can really make Rydia very useful into the early and mid game. Just another Rosa there. I can't imagine Antidale's going to be taking 2 Rosas.
But more importantly, King and Queen of Evelyn are the Rubicon spot.
Yeah, very good point. That means that is a free boss on the way down. We still don't know who's going to be in the King and Queen spot with their French vanilla move here, but at least you know it's potentially not going to be a nasty hook rat. Potentially.
It entirely depends. We could have like Evil Wall or Kainatsu or some other boss that really benefits from going fast. The King and Queen Evelyn spot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are some very, very notable run breakers there.
Yeah, any physical boss too, because of how astronomically high the attack power is for this level.
Just thought about Ogopogo and shuddered a little bit.
Yeah, I still have nightmares of my first Hummingway Open race where we had Kainatsu at King Queen Evelyn. I think it was King Queen Evelyn and not Rubicon. Either way, it was nasty.
Yeah, that's bad. Antidale does find that Staleman chest, just saved in front of it, so he was able to reset out, and that means the rest of the chests in here are free game for him to loot on his way out.
Yeah, these are going to be probably the best chests you're going to find on the overworld outside of the Troya Treasury, since these are both gated by a key item and have trapped chests in the mix, so that's 2 things that are going to increase the power. And we see 3rd Rosa on Mount Ordeals.
Goodness, 3 Rosas, 2 Youngs, that's one heck of a full house there.
And a house that would not require a lot of gear to be effective.
That's very true. Putting those Rosas on reserve and potentially slingshotting them with a grind would set you up pretty nicely for reflex strats against Threemus. Just going with a mage-heavy party there. It's not ideal since White has a little bit of a wind-up time compared to Nuke, but still very, very doable strategy.
Mm-hmm. And we're getting our first look at the bosses of Ordeals, and we see the Mega Sisters up first.
Yeah, I don't believe the magic power here is terribly threatening, especially since Sid is going to be able to tank a lot of it if he gets targeted. So this shouldn't be too bad of a fight, I can't imagine.
Yeah, this is a somewhat slow spot with low physical power, and I think the magic power is low as well, so this shouldn't be too bad. Yeah. If the party's careful, they can win easily, or they can just pull Bahamut out of a book and say no thank you.
Yeah, who needs strategy when you've got a dragon? Yeah, grimoires are one of those items that can, in a pinch, be incredibly useful, or if you're just having the worst luck possible, just unbelievably frustrating. That's a cursed ring for Antidale, finding that in
and a Quake Kid.
Wow, that's pretty big.
Cursed ring and a Quake Kid.
Ooh, now I think CoffeeAndChocobos is wishing he had that Bahamut again.
Antidale not ticking on that Mom Bomb right now, not going to go for that Quake Kid quite yet. But yeah, that is a CPU, all right. Last race I commentated, there were some very swag plays involving burning down the CPU and both of its nodes at the same time and getting there before Globe 199 finished off the party. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, there are some reliable ways to fight CPU, just taking out the recovery node so it's not undoing your damage, and just dealing with the Mazer as you sort of whittle down CPU. And then there's some other plays that you can do. You can rely on just power overwhelming, just like you mentioned, just burst the nodes down and CPU. There are other tricks you can do. You can try to set float on to one of the nodes if you've got access to the Quake spell so that it doesn't get hit by that. That's kind of a 50-50 though, because you've got to basically cast float on your whole party. One of them reflects it, and you hope it hits the node. Other things you can do is set Berserk on your fighters to give them extra attack power, and then blink the node.
Blink strats, those seem risky to me. But Antidale checks out Mysidia, finds Sid and a Dark Knight, which potentially gives more reasons to go up Mount Ordeals.
Yeah, indeed. We haven't seen any huge weaponry for Cecil just yet, but always that crystal sword lurking around.
Yeah. Bill is checking the defensive bull, which I did not expect. I thought he would try to go for the single dip, but we'll see how this turns out.
Yeah, I know a lot of runners subscribe to the philosophy of if there's... Oh, well, that's Golbez.
Yep. Get your ha's out, chat.
But yeah, if there is any way to avoid going down a hook route, you'd like to. We know that at least half of the hook route is free, but Never fun to know that you missed a Magnet Key somewhere. Now, the nice thing is Shadow's not going to kill anybody because there's just not enough people in Antidale's party.
Yeah, you can safely throw up a Star Veil on somebody and probably get through this without too much trouble. Golbus does not have a lot of health here, but Lit 3 is still Lit 3.
And speaking of slugs, Coffee and Chocobos, through his fight, is going to be into the Cluya Shrine and get a glimpse of what key items available here.
I'm going to predict the spoon.
That's bold. I'm going to say a big bomb.
Oh, yeah. It always sucks when you get weak equipment as your reward from a key item spot, like Wizard or Cat or something.
Oh, Twin Harp instead. Never mind. That's interesting.
Totally acceptable.
Chat's definitely going to like that. Plus, that's going to give a more incentive to stick around here on the overworld if you think you've got the damage to deal with that spot. Notoriously high magic defense at the Dark Elf spot. We do have Sid swinging for decent melee damage, so potential place to check before going down that hook route.
Yeah, you've got Sid with a Poison Axe and a Strength Ring. You're going to be okay. Meanwhile, Antidale does get through the Laughing Warlock. Dark Mage, I don't know. What do we call Golbez? What's his job?
I think Warlock is appropriate because he's technically getting his power from a pact with a more powerful being. Tower Key is not specifically required, but it's going to give more incentive to getting that objective out of the way because you'll be able to get 2 key item checks out of it.
Yeah, it makes things go a little bit faster. I think it is probably faster to duel the Thule defense and come back later than it would be to do double dip tower.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's correct there.
Oh, Veils in the Thule item shop, very nice.
Yeah, go ahead and replenish your supply.
It always helps to have some Star Veils. It is possible to have too many.
Yes, they are expensive items, so you don't want to go crazy with them, but they're so useful in so many situations.
Leave home without your Star Veils.
That's why we've tended to start just giving them at the beginning of the game now.
Yeah, and I really like the starter kits. It helps smooth out the early game. But Antidale about to get the good news of the Tella guarded by Plague.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised to see him just pick Tella up straight out here. Plus, that's probably going to incentivize him to go to Ordeals and get that spell list unlocked.
Which we know leads to music, which is one of the more hype things.
Most certainly. See if Coffee and Chocobos makes any party adjustments here.
I'm not expecting it yet. We don't have enough weapons to make more melees worthwhile at this time.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. The nice thing about melees is you got consistent damage, but it's especially on these flag sets where items are a little harder to come by, getting them to that point where they're doing that consistent damage can be a bit of a challenge.
And Cecil especially is a bit of a double-edged sword in these flags thanks to vanilla agility.
Yes, you got to be absolutely sure you know what you're doing if you're taking Cecil into your party because you're going to be locked to his agility for the rest of the game. Any manipulations have to be done through him, and that can be very difficult to do if you don't have something you can do to actually adjust his agility, like a Curse Ring or a Dwarf Axe or something like that.
And we see both runners converging on Baron Inn, possibly looking to get that quick kid.
Yeah, it's going to be a very strong character. And this is actually a surprisingly trolly Mom Bomb location here, since this normally only has 400 HP, but now you got to deal with Mom Bomb transforming and dealing with all of the child bombs and everything, since you're not going to be able to do that extra 9,000 at this level. So
yeah, exactly. To try and make sure that she can actually go through her explosion script, the devs gave her an additional 9,000 hit points, so that when you quote-unquote defeat her, you have some buffer room before so where she can actually do the explosion instead of just blowing her away. And fight number 2 is some sort of Mylon. It is Mylon and friends.
Not the worst here. You're only going to see Lit 1 here from Mylon. He will do the occasional punch, which will probably hurt a bit. But yeah, those gas are going to go down very quickly. This Lit 1 shouldn't hit for too much. Yeah, that's relatively manageable. So,
Still, when you're used to seeing those lit ones hit for like single digits.
Yes.
Rock used to be triple digits.
Yeah, it's definitely an increase from what you're used to, but still, with Sid in the 900 HP, Rose has got over 300. Oh, and Rose is only getting hit for 1, so yeah, that's better.
And meanwhile, Antidale pulls out the swag Odin off the Grimoire and bisects all of the enemies, but Mylon says, "No, I'm still here. You just can't see me."
I have never seen this before.
I pulled it off once. It's kind of funny.
This is fantastic. So I'm assuming that's because Mylon has immunity to the Odin instant death, but it still gets rid of his sprite?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it works, but I know that like whether or not the Odin spell succeeds depends in part on the immunity of only the first enemy in the formation. So I think because the ghasts are susceptible to it, the Odin spell does go off, but I don't know quite why his sprite also disappears. Meanwhile, we've got
that makes a lot of sense. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just calling out that the reward, besides the Quake Kit, was the package.
Yeah, not a massively exciting find, but if you feel like you're fishing for a specific character, that's on the table.
And Antidale right behind, getting that Quake Kid, getting that package. Probably gonna take him. Oh, and we've got Silkwebs in Baron. Did we already know that?
I don't think so. I think this is our first time seeing it. Super, super useful item, so you're going to want to make sure you grab a couple of those.
It looks like Antidale said no to the Palom, and I also see that he doesn't have the Tella in his party. Most interesting.
Yeah, it looks like he is waiting until the last minute possible to pick up his full team. Which is understandable. He has not been to Ordeals yet, so that Tella really isn't going to do too much for him other than the exit spell access.
Right, and Wyvern is strictly optional in the seed thanks to the Miscave check.
Yeah, that is always good news, and I think that was a third Sid?
Yeah, that was third Sid.
Yeah, 1 Sid's fine, 2 Sids maybe a little too much, 3 Sids there, but no. And I think we're getting music.
Tents and Troya. I've seen people relying on tents a bit more in the seed in these flag sets because cabins just don't seem to be as common with the shop weightings we've been seeing.
Yeah, if you're wondering what the difference is, cabins are a full heal, including Raising the Dead. On the whole party. Tents will only do 1,000 HP, 100 MP, and they will not raise the dead, which in some circumstances can actually be preferable, especially if you're trying to keep a character at low level to use as an anchor of some sort.
Yeah, and also I just checked our lists, and cabins are tier 4 items, so you're not going to find them on the surface in this flag set unless they're in Eblin Cave. Since on S Pro, you can only find tier 1 to 3 items in ungated shops, tier 1 to 4 in gated shops, and tier 5 to 6 in Kokal, and you don't get a wide selection there.
No, you don't, but sometimes you can find something like Sirens like that there that completely break a seat open for you.
Yeah, that is the only way to get Sirens in these flag sets, unless you get lucky with a treasure chest drop.
Yep.
They're not going to show up in other stores, and they cannot be stolen by Edge.
Coffee and Chocobo is not doing any looting here in Cave Magnus. It is gated by a key item, so it does have slightly better loot, but much more laser focused on just getting this objective done here.
Does it have better loot? I mean, you can access the dungeon wherever, you just can't do the boss until you've got the key item.
You know what? I always assumed that it did, but now that you mention that, it might not. I'll have to check on that.
Oh, and Sid just takes out that Rosa in one hit over on Antidale's side. That's not great.
Oh, and our Restreamer Demarine confirming marginally upgraded loot in Cave Magnus, but it is worse than Watery Pass. Thank you for that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Some of the loot incentives are based on people not wanting to go to locations, so like nobody has a reason to go to Watery Pass for the most part, so we make the loot a little bit better to incentivize it. But Coffee and Chocobos has been defeated by the Dark Elf. It's time for Edward to save the day. Let's find out what kind of music he's going to bring to the table. And we have decisively defeated Rubicant in some kind of battle.
Indeed, chat can't make up their mind what battle it was, but it certainly was a battle. Antidale finishing ordeals in the meantime.
Yes, and perhaps it'll take another game or two for people to get really sorted out on what the song was. But we get the Darkness Crystal from music, so that's pretty hype.
Yeah, that's definitely a that's a seed opener right there.
Yeah, we've got most of the world available now, and it's pretty good that Sid survived that glare from Rubicant and made that whole battle possible.
Yeah, that's we were talking earlier about Sid's utility in the early game, and we mentioned his HP pool, and yeah, that combined with one of those pieces of Dragoon armor that gives you elemental resistance was really saved the day there. So yeah, Sid really showing off his tankiness.
And Demarin points out that we could be in grind mode for Coffee and Chocobos. Grab that 5th character, maybe a Yang, and go beat up some demon sheets.
Yeah, it looks like we're doing some shopping to find the what we need. There's one piece of the puzzle there, and there's piece 2 of the puzzle.
There's 2 pieces of the puzzle
there. Just two spots down. We've got ethers, we got lives. That is everything we need for a D-Machine grind. And sure enough, right over to Mysidia, going to be heading to the Tower of Wishes and completing this party.
But first, a detour to the Lunar Whale.
Of course. We have to wish for the giant brine shrimp to raise from the waves.
Oh, and Antidale does not appear to be going after music yet. This could really hurt.
Yeah, that Darkness Crystal is just too valuable an item here. Antidale's going to want to get his hands on that ASAP. Every bit he spends not having that is just room for Coffee and Chocobos to get a more substantial advantage here.
And Antidale discovers 3rd Sid in Mist Village in the meantime. And the package is the harp. We are musically destroying the Village of Mist.
It's the Seed trying to give a hint to Antidale. Go check music.
Yes. Does this count as fire? That get us in trouble with George R.R. Martin.
It's this is interesting. Antidale is actually going through here. Might be wanting to take a look at who that boss is in Kaipo. Might want to have an extra Sid on the bench here.
Yeah, I mean, it could instigating a critical key item, which could put him right back into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So this will be this will definitely be worth checking and see if this is a very gutsy call, but we'll see if it pays off.
I mean, like I said earlier, you need bold plays to pull out a victory, and I feel this tight.
Yeah, and I think this might be a factor of the fact that this is 2 out of 3 now. He's up 1-0. He might feel like he's in a position where he can make a little bit gutsier calls here because he can fall back on a potential third game if it doesn't pan out. So yeah, I kind of like what Antidale's doing.
Yeah, and we see CoffeeAndChocobos setting up some D machines. Why are we running around outside Baron? That seems like not a good use of time.
Well, it's because us on the admin team tried to make it harder to do the D machine, but the community is just too smart for us, and they found a way to manipulate the D machine anyway, even though we had running from encounters turned off. So what this does is essentially you're cycling through the random encounters until you know you're at the part on the random number seed that's going to generate the D machine grind as soon as you go into the room. Looks like CoffeeAndChocobos is where he wants to be. So he's just going to turn encounters off, go into the giant, turn him back on, and the next fight he gets should be that D-Machine grind he's looking for.
Yes, very good explanation. I like the personal touch. We admins tried to do something hard, but then the community outsmarted us.
I mean, it happens all the time.
It's true. Yeah, game developers have this problem all the time. No matter how much they playtest, there's a limited amount of them compared to the huge community that's just going to find something and break it quickly. Antidale is picking up some characters. We've got a Quake Kid coming online. We've got a Tele coming online. And that's all we've got coming online at the moment.
And so Antidale finally is committing to more of the characters. Is he going underground now? It's going to be a huge divergence.
He has completed Ordeal, so he has the utility spells on Tele. He could totally go underground.
Yes, this is interesting. CoffeeAndChocobos is going to get a huge power advantage here just from doing this grind now. But while he's doing that, Antidale is going to be making progress in the seed.
Assuming we don't have some horrible evil boss at the Queen spot anyway.
Exactly, yeah. So, unfortunately, this is going to delay Antidale getting that Darkness Crystal. It might be putting off the Harp more and more since it's not... unless there's a key item that he needs on the moon, he might be able to just go through the seed without ever getting it. If that's what he needs for a grind, that could make this a little deadly for him, but I really like that we're getting these two very different approaches from each other.
That's right. Moon could technically be optional if we have the Luca key on the Earth along the pass, or Legend of Adamant on Earth along with the pass.
Yeah, one of the objectives can be done without any key item. We have the pan for objective number 2, so that's two objectives right out of the way right there. All we would need for that third objective was a Luca key to show up somewhere, or the Adamant and Legend Sword somewhere underground, which is not outside the realm of possibility. So, we could never actually technically need that Darkness Crystal, and then it'll be interesting to see how Antidale decides to get his team ready for Zeromus, if that's indeed what happens.
Yeah, and Chad made a joke about farming up hourglasses. That would probably be useful for Antidale right now, because he's trying to get this Mad Ogre grind going, but Tele got knocked down before he could cast Size, and things are not looking so hot.
Oh, that miss could be big. Never mind. Tele, come on.
That's just bad luck. Oh man, that's a really big setback, all the way back to Mist.
Yeah, not good news for Antidale here, unfortunately. Goes back, gets his Tele, gets his Palom.
Alright, he has to get the characters again too. Man, that hurts.
Yeah, Always, I mean, it takes some time to save, but you almost feel like you should oversave instead of undersave.
Yep, you've got 4 save slots after all. And you don't need that many save scum options this early in the game anyway.
Yeah, right you are.
There's been some real hype plays, not only in this event, but just throughout the history of Free Enterprise, where somebody's on most of the moon and then taken a safety save, gone back to Earth to check something that came online, found it was nothing, and then immediately went back to the moon by resetting.
Exactly, yeah. You've got a lot of resources at your disposal in any given Free Enterprise seed, but one of the ones that you don't see a lot of people talk about are those 4 save slots. They are very much a resource, and properly managing them can save you a lot of time, especially when you're trying to cover as much ground as possible when you're searching for like the 1 or 2 more things you need to finish a seed.
While we're retreading ground, how does this D-Machine grind work? We've got some low-level characters in a high-level area, and they aren't dying.
Yeah, one nice function of this D-Machine enemy and why it makes such a great target for grinding experience is in a controlled environment, you'll never get an attack from it that actually does regular damage. All of its damage is going to be percentage-based. So not only is it worth a large amount of experience, it's relatively safe as an encounter to fight at any level. The only thing you need is some way to actually kill it, and that's where Tella comes in with his weak spell. We've got Tella in the center spot there for that accuracy bonus we mentioned earlier, so he doesn't miss with that weak spell with his subpar stats, we'll call them. But yeah,
subpar is a polite way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah, weak, if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of like the harm spell in D&D. It brings the target down to single-digit HP, regardless of who it is, as long as they don't have the boss bit that prevents it. You can then wipe up the D-Machine with a follow-up attack, and if you've got the timing down, throw a life potion on the D-Machine's body, because that'll bring it back to life with 0 HP, which means it dies again, and you get the experience for it twice. So that's why you see the little angels popping out there.
Or if you're Dusty Griff, you can do it 3 or even 4 times.
Yes, there are some really cool strategies you can use to sort of buffer in multiple life uses. Palom is actually especially good for this. Using something like Ice 2 will give you enough time to get multiple life commands in. Palom uses the Ice 2, it has priority over the life commands. The life commands come out afterwards, and you get triple or even quadruple the experience from a single D-Machine encounter.
Yeah, speaking of encounters, we've got the Mad Ogres over on Antidale side have been correctly shrunken this time, and we're seeing him reestablish his board and get ready to farm some experience.
Yeah, one of the best uses of the mini spell in Free Enterprise is on these Mad Ogres. Not only is it going to limit their attack power, but since they can be very tough to deal damage to, they have very, very high magic resistance. Really, the only way to consistently deal damage to them is physical. The mini spell is going to make them much more susceptible to physical damage, and Sid with that axe with its giant bonus is going to help as well. So, really, really useful spell in this situation.
And the mini situation is kind of a recent piece of tech, isn't it? Since normally we're used to having easy access to hourglasses.
Yeah, hourglasses were kind of a big crutch that the community used for a while. They used to be very, very easy to get access in most shops. Nowadays, you almost never see hourglasses used so much, so we have to use other things like the mini here. And there's some life too there. That's going to bring the ogre back to life. Antidale might be sitting in here for a Mad Ogre grind. This isn't something to see every day.
Yeah, this is uncommon, but a bit spicy.
Okay, I only did it once. Might have a piece of math in his head, trying to get Palom to where he gets either Virus or Quake. Does he make it? Yes, he's got Virus. That's huge for Palom going into this route here.
Significantly more useful.
Yeah, so
and Rosa gets Berserk.
Yeah, that's just kind of showing you the level of play you get from these finalists here is knowing that, if I'm going to get Palom to the point where he's got that spell that's going to make him useful here, I need one more fight here, so let's use the fact that Tella's got this life too. Let's get one more Mad Ogre's worth of experience here, so just amazing heads-up play there by Antidale.
Yeah, and CoffeeAndChocobos finishing his grind with a swag kamikaze from Tella. Gets a cool 689,000 experience points for his trouble.
A little shy of white on Rosa, but here's the big one. This is going to be Palom.
And Yang, but yes. Rosa gets almost every spell. She's got all the most important ones, so she is good to go.
Absolutely. And there's Nuke. That's the big one that you want there for Palin. That'll carry you through most of the game. If anything is going to resist magic for whatever reason, now you got Punch Mage there in Yang to just hit the heck out of it. So really, really great team here for Coffee and Chocobos.
Yeah. Even the Dark Elf spot is not immune to Nuke. Oh, there's bonus round.
Well, this is still kind of an evil fight. And yeah, Antidale going to reset and maybe do some tinkering around before going into this. D-Machine can punch hard, and half the time you can't hit it. So it's not exactly a fun thing to find here.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, physical bosses are not fun at this specific spot because they've got high attack power for this level of the game. Because the devs decided that if the boss doesn't use magic, we'll give it high magic power, and if it doesn't use physical attacks, we'll give it high physical attacks. Not a strict rule, but it's the pattern we've seen in a lot of things. CPU spot, Bahamut spot can absolutely annihilate you with physical attacks if you're not prepared.
Yeah, it's good rule of thumb to sort of expect the opposite of what a spot might normally have. There are some exceptions, but it'll get you through most situations.
CNC checking out the Chocobo Forest. Do you think he's going for the treasure chest, or just going to grab a black Chocobo and do shenanigans?
Well, looks like he wanted some MP, and yeah, I guess just getting the treasure chest, crystal armor, that's a lot of money there.
Yeah, a lot of money. Would be good if we had a Cecil, but we don't have a Cecil.
Yeah, it's a wonderful piece of armor, except for one little flaw where makes the wearer immune to the Berserk status, which I guess the developers thought was a good thing, but since we know we know a little bit better about how good a status Berserk really is, and can unfortunately, unless you've got something like an Avenger to put auto Berserk on Cecil, can kind of get in the way more than it helps.
Yeah, that has burned me a few times in the past, where I kept thinking for some reason it was the Crystal Helm that prevented Berserk.
That's okay. I keep trying to put Berserk on a poison Cecil and wondering why it doesn't take.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about status priority?
Well, you can only have one status at a time in this game, and there is a nice little hierarchy of what status overrides which. If a status is higher on the list than another status, then it'll overwrite it. If not, then the status just won't take hold, period. This is actually very useful to know because there are some bosses that use status effects on your party that you can actually counteract. Golbez is one we saw earlier that it's very commonly used on to avoid that hold gas that he puts out. And you can just sort of make your characters act more quickly in the cutscene and sort of get things a lot more done a lot safer. But yeah, Antidale is through this D-Mist fight and is on to the freebie boss here because this has a storyline trigger and will end very quickly.
Yes, and the boss was even kind enough to heal them beforehand, so they can just sit back and enjoy the cutscene. But Coffee and Chocobos, hot on his heels, has discovered the King and Queen, has discovered that Rosa, and is going to be presumably heading straight into Upper Babel, because we all need to get underground. That's where all the fun stuff is.
Yeah, it's important to note here just how much Coffee and Chocobos is blazing. Coffee and Chocobos has already done an entire D-Machine grind here, and is nearly caught up to Antidale. This is huge because normally if you're stopping to do grind like that, you're sort of accepting that you're going to be a little bit behind your opponent as a result. But that's not the case here. Coffee and Chocobos is still keeping up.
Yeah, this is going to be something. It's going to come down to who makes the right plays. Antidale is going to have to find the right things in the right order in order to make up for the time that Coffee and Chocobos is going to save in fights from having a nuke caster.
And there's the screen darkening. The cutscene is triggered. The King and Queen will step away from the fight and to distribute their experience here. And just as Antidale finishes up, Coffee and Chocobos is into this fight.
Yeah, so Antidale will technically be the first person on the ground at roughly 43-25, but he's not going to have that lead for very long, unfortunately.
Yeah, Coffee and Chocobos is going to have a tremendous amount of momentum here going into the underground. Any check that Coffee and Chocobos wants to make, he can. There are so many checks that are available right now, especially with that pan, with the free check available in the Feymarch. And the fact that his team is already powered up, he can just go fight whatever boss he wants. So this is kind of, how he wants to route it at this point.
Now, we saw a blue robe on Antidale's screen at the top of the tower. That could be free. That could be a time-consuming gauntlet.
Yeah, either way, I think our runners are going to want to do it because it's that objective there. You've already got one objective done with the pan as soon as you turn it in. Getting that other free objective that without having to search for a key item means even if that is the time-consuming gauntlet, it's going to be worth it.
So I was going to predict something rude, like demist at evil wall spot holding a gated key item or a critical key item, but that's obviously not happening anymore. So what kind of rudeness do you think might come up still?
Well, we haven't seen our good friend the Nope Rope anywhere, and there's some fun places where he can show up. If he's holding a critical key item in the Feymarch, that's still not trivial, even if you've done your D-Machine grind.
That's true. Leviathan spot hits hard, has a lot of hit points, and will knock your party down.
Yeah, he kind of takes after Garland in that respect.
Yes, he will knock you all down. At least, I'm assuming Ogopogo is a he. I don't know how to tell with giant sea serpents.
But yeah, Antidale is taking advantage of the fact that he found that tower key, is going to go for the 2 checks in here. And meanwhile, Coffee and Chocobos is in the tower as well, coming from the other side. So kind of a slight high five from our runners. They're just in different parts of the tower.
Yeah, they're shouting over the wall at each other.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, maybe the tower key will lead to something fun behind the super cannon, and that will give Antidale some time to try and catch up. But as soon as Coffee and Chocobos does the pan, it's going to go turn it in at Sheila, and is going to probably clear Fabul and get that tower key. On the other hand, he's got a full party, so that Golbez fight will take longer because of the cutscenes.
Yeah, right, sure. He's not going to have the advantage Antidale did, where Shadow's just going to show up and not doing anything. But
on the other hand, we've got Nuke. We've got a high-level Yank. We're going to just punch Golbez out of 1 or 2 shots.
Precisely.
And it's Water Hag.
Yep, that's the boss you want to see here if you're Antidale. That is another freebie. Just has to hit Water Hag 3 times to cycle through Anna's dialogue, and the key item will be his.
Yes, this enemy is a random encounter for everybody else, but for Edward, it's a boss.
And what a boss it is. In the normal game, it has something like 65,000 HP.
And the real reward from Sylph Cave was the objective, not the Cure 3 potion.
Hey, don't knock the Cure 3 potion.
We've got a high-level Rosa.
Yeah, true. That's one turn Sid can do something useful.
Yeah, what was the reward from Water Hag? I was too busy looking at Coffee and Chocobos' screen.
It flashed by so fast I did not see it. I'm sure. Oh no, our tracker missed it too.
Chat will save us. Chat's great like that.
Zeus Gauntlet. Okay.
Thank
not
you, Chat.
Great item, but not what you're looking for. Sand Ruby. I don't think we've actually gotten a peek at the bed in Kaipo, have we?
We did not check the bed in Kaipo.
So that could be anybody, but at this point, I think both runners are pretty set on the part they want to use. I can't imagine anyone checking that and making any changes.
Yeah, CNC has no reason to go to Kaipo unless he really wants Thor Rages.
And while Antidale technically does have a spot open in his party, I'm got to assume he's keeping that open for Yang to slingshot him into the stratosphere for the endgame.
the CNC doesn't even check the bosses. Gonna go to Fabul most likely, gonna get that tower key. Probably gonna be pretty happy.
I really like the discipline here from Coffee and Chocobos to not even check the Fame March bosses. If I'm there, I'm always tempted to check them, even if I know I can't fight them, and then usually see something that maybe tempts me into fighting them, and I end up wasting a whole bunch of time there. But Coffee and Chocobos has a plan, knows what he wants to do, is going right for it. So yeah, really applaud that.
Yeah, I agree. On the other hand, he's at endgame levels. He could take care of a good variety of spots, a good variety of bosses in those locations at this time.
That is also very true. Come on, Sheila, have some goods. Oh, that's a good, all right.
And meanwhile, Antidale gets the spoon.
So Antidale coming up empty, but Coffee and Chocobos hitting it big there.
Yeah, I think we can officially say go mode for Coffee and Chocobos at this point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's got the levels. He's got the items.
Just has to check the boxes.
Yeah, this is just a couple of errands he's got to wrap up, and then we're going to see Zeromus fight ridiculously early here. This is all really fallen into place for Coffee and Chocobos.
Yeah, and he didn't even bother to defend Fabul. Golbez will just be standing at the gate, outside the gates for a while, wondering when he's going to be invited in.
Yeah, no need to let those monks fend for themselves. We've got bigger fish to fry here.
I mean, Golbez has an appointment. Why are they being so rude? But yes, Coffee and Chocobos ticks off box number 4. We'll be checking off box number 3 very shortly. We'll be going to the moon and never looking back shortly after that.
Yeah, indeed. And the only thing having to deal with here is the Water Hag, which is not that there was going to be much here at the top of the tower that could stand in Coffee and Chocobos' way, but that certainly won't.
I mean, if the rest of the party took a nap and it was just Tella, it could be maybe a road bump.
Right, yeah, it would be... it would be interesting. I still think it'd be okay. Just the pink tail from Mrs. Rydia, not progression. Could be a really good item. I can't really think of anything you'd be hoping to pull if you were Antidale, so I'm not sure he's going to be in a rush to go turn that in.
Yeah, probably not going to bother with that, at least not until we get the rat tail as well.
Yeah, under normal circumstances, that'll give you the adamant armor, which is one of the most broken pieces of equipment in any RPG I've ever played. But we have that turned off for a lot of our competitive play, including this flag set. So instead, you just get a higher tier piece of gear from the pink tail instead of the highest tier piece of gear.
Yeah, question from chat. What did Antidale skip? He skipped the Twin Harp, which had Rubicant guarding the Darkness Crystal. And that may cost him the race, which is going to be unfortunate.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see our runners, how they approach this. Antidale did Fabul, but skipped the harp check. Meanwhile, Coffee and Chocobos did the harp check, but skipped Fabul. So that's really been what has been the deciding factor here.
Yeah, our opening key item was the hook. Our Antlion Cave key item was the pan. CNC lived the dream of doing a single dip Fabul.
Gosh, just looking at some of those numbers there on Coffee and Chocobo screen. 5,000 HP for Young. That is really nice to see.
And I love the way Edward is interacting with the scene right now. Command, fight, and fail.
Fight, fail, indeed. And there's a crystal for Antidale. Unfortunately, although he's the first one to get the crystal, he still does not have a team that is ready for Zeromus at all. So now he's got to find a way to level his team up, not knowing that there is a darkness crystal in play here.
He's also got to find that moon access, which is...
Yeah, that is actually a very good point there. He that darkness crystal is the moon axis for Coffee and Chocobos. We do not know where the pass is right now, which would be the other way to get there. For all we know, it could be on the moon.
It is going to be Antidale to catch, but it's going to take
Yeah, there's going to have to be some incredible strokes of luck here. I'm trying to think of a scenario where Antidale mounts a comeback here that doesn't involve just a lot of fumbling on the Threemus fight from CoffeeAndChocobos. But there's
free boss here in which gives them us.
Yeah, that's
strats.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think we found vampires yet.
I haven't been specifically looking for them, but you might be right. They might not be there.
I mean, I've been taking fairly detailed notes. Vampires on anybody's.
Oh, if you have, then I trust you. Then. Oh, that is not the fame march you want to see.
Boss.
Oh.
My stream is cutting out. Who is it?
That was Ogopogo there at Leviathan. Little bit of a palette swap there for him.
It's Leviathan brother.
Exactly. His older, meaner brother that beats up the bullies that pick on him.
But yes, many serpent in the between and Pogo.
The strong older cousin of Leviathan that doesn't let you play their copy of the Final Fantasy Adventure on Game Boy because they're afraid that you'll overwrite your save, but you still snuck it in anyway. I'm not talking from experience.
No, yeah, never had any trouble with family members in save games.
There's another moon boss in Dwarf Castle. We'll get to see who that is in just a moment.
We've got Edward on the moon.
Well, that Edward would unlock a grindless Zeromus fight, but still need that darkness crystal to get to him.
But yeah, that's we saw on CoffeeAndChocobos failed attempt to join the party and failed. We got Pale Dim as the first boss. That's not terrible.
Yeah, of the lunar bosses, besides maybe Plague, Pale Dim is probably the least threatening. All he's going to do is punch you, counterattack with slow. It's annoying, but not exactly life-threatening.
It'll take. We've got two people who. So your party's not going to unless they go inside. Rosa queuing command not only is the higher accuracy, also will not trigger attack because Pildon specifically counters the fight command.
Yep, indeed. There are a number of sort of physical attack replacements, I guess you could call them, that not only have their own unique effects, but are very useful in sort of avoiding that fight commands that many bosses have counters sort of pre-programmed for. Aim, jump, power, just to name a few, can be really, really useful for that utility.
Yeah, I think those are the big ones. Yeah, others are. Throw.
Oh yes, throw is a very, very good one. Throw, not only does it do a lot of damage, but it also has perfect accuracy. So some bosses that get by on massive evasion, looking at you, Volvalis, you can actually neutralize with throw, which is really, really nice.
So, we haven't seen Zeromus. Why is it cool?
Well, he's a really hard boss. You don't want to fight him unless you're at the end of the game, right?
That's fair. Big Bang is far.
Yeah, so one thing we like to do is, because this is a randomizer, and it might get a little boring to fight the exact same last boss every now and then, we keep his AI script intact, but what he looks like is always going to be a little bit different. We have 450 plus different Zeromus sprites from the creator of Free Enterprise, Boardface, and our wonderful admin, Scala Kitty, creating them, and always fun to see what we have. Want to give the fans the question they want?
I mean, I guess I can. So it's time for us to ask, as we ask many nights, whose butt are we about to kick?
And kick indeed with this amazing team that CoffeeAndChocobos has. This is about the best you can see in a team in this flag set. You've got strong physical damage from Young. You've got really strong casters in both Rosa and Palom. We've seen sort of a bias towards reflect strats with mages. You kind of want to talk about how that's set up?
Sure, 1 second. Let's just see what the key item is. It's the Ledger Sword, so might. So Reflect Strats. Threemus, along with a couple other boss spots in this game, the devs wanted him to have about 100,000 hit points, give or take. The problem is that the Super Nintendo, being a 16-bit console, only 1,000 and change by default. So, in order to get around that limitation, they could have done. They could have implemented big integers. It's complicated, it's easy to do wrong, we're not going to be talking about the details. What they actually did is they implemented a counterattack script, where attacks at a certain hit point threshold, he will refill and reset into the next phase of the fight. By doing reflected attacks, those don't trigger counterattacks, so it's possible to burn through Threemus quickly and have to deal with about 40,000 hit points worth of healing. That will not be the case in this fight because we have a Yang who's probably going to want to punch some stuff.
Was it you, Pixel, in chat earlier asking for a Punch-Out for the music?
Somebody commented on Punch-Out, and I said that if it was Punch-Out, we'd have to recruit all the Yangs.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I hope that this is a good consolation prize for them.
I am entertained.
I think Yang could definitely take Tyson in a match.
Especially if he could get behind him and kick, he'd just wrap around the world and he would never see it coming.
Oh, well, that's technically go mode for Antidale. He's got the pass. No need for a Darkness Crystal. Now he's just got to get the strength to beat Threemus here.
And the full party, hopefully.
Yes. Be interesting to see... Oh my gosh, that's the all gauntlet at the bottom of the sealed cave. That's not fun.
Oh, no. But he's probably going to keep it because he has no other moon access.
Yeah, right you are. I can't see him resetting out of this. If nothing else, it'll be a decent amount of experience, but these aren't fun fights down here.
Yeah, this is good and bad for Antidale.
I always loved the Vamp Lady sprite coming out of the ceiling like that.
Yeah, there's some neat art in this game. We don't always see all of it because we tend to skip a lot of the random encounters.
Exactly. That's why the all gauntlet is so much fun, because we get to sort of see these sprites that you wouldn't normally see in a standard game of Free Enterprise. Rose are doing some really good damage to those werebats with their flying property. Arrows are going to do effective damage against them.
Antidale through that first fight. CNC making quite a bit of progress on Threemus. Looks to be sticking pretty hard to the reflect strategies. One downside of the reflect strategies is you don't get to nerf the big bangs, since that is a counterattack.
Yeah, right you are, and doing that at the wrong moment would trigger that HP refill. So unless you're counting and you're counting very closely and you're very sure of where you are, damage-wise.
Ignore me, I just saw a punch and an axe hit, so we're doing full hybrid.
Just about to mention, yeah, it looks like it's actually hybrid instead. So going for some reflect damage and also the physical damage. Kind of the safer option, a little bit longer of an option. But, when you've got an even split here between physical and mages, perfectly reasonable strategy.
Yep, it is pretty flexible. It doesn't require a ton of gear, and it also doesn't require a perfect party of mages. And I would not be surprised if CNC thinks he has some time to spare since he got that early Darkness Crystal.
And answer a question chat from Zemter. Yes, the crystal does indeed count as a key item. Only thing on that list that's lit up that would not count as a key item is the pass. But we've got Falling Rocks on Coffee and Chocobo screen. We are down to the last 12,000 HP. He is sprinting to the finish line here. This nuke might be it. It's reflected. It's hitting the heavyweight champ right in the stomach.
And there we go.
That, Coffee and Chocobos has taken this and forced a game 3 from Antidale. This is going the distance.
And let's find out if CNC is going to join us for an interview.
Yeah, what a race there. Yeah, official time coming through now. 1 hour, 3 minutes, 34 seconds. That is incredible on a flag set as difficult as this.
Yeah, their last race was 1 hour 48:32 for the first finish, so huge difference. This was a much faster seed. And we are joined by tonight's winner, Coffee and Chocobos. GG, congrats. You have forced game 3, and you have helped my bracket.
Thank you very much, and glad to help.
So did you have enough
how
time
do you feel?
Yeah, go ahead.
I felt really good about that seed. I mean, 1 hour and 3 minutes is good for most seeds in general, but especially with this flag set, it's kind of crazy. The first thing that made me feel real good was seeing that Sid right out of the gate instead of the Yang start from the other day. Sid, I love seeing Sid. He's like the Tella of Melee. And then the second thing was when I got to that Ordeals and saw the Magus sisters, it was like, oh no, not again. And then I pulled out the Grimoire and said, hey Magus sisters, this Grimoire's got your name on it. No, wait, it's got Bahamut's name on it. See ya!
Yeah, that was a pretty well-timed Grimoire, getting that Bahamut out there.
Oh yeah, for a 2-second fight that was like, what, 5 minutes yesterday, I'm really grateful. And it was just, everything rolled downhill from there. Taking the Twin Harp, going and getting that early darkness, and then slingshotting both Palom and Yang into the stratosphere.
Yeah, and also I like your analogy of Tella being of Sid being the Tella of Melee. I hadn't really considered that before, but it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, he can anchor, he can equip bows, he can equip axes. I mean, he can't equip swords, but he can basically do it all.
He's got a beard.
That too.
He's kind of cantankerous at times, but yes. Back to the race. What drove you to do music so early? That was pretty significant in the outcome of this race.
Well, a hook seed is always going to drive you to make every check you possibly can before you go and take on that hook. And I didn't want to go to Fabul yet because I had that pan. I was going to go to Fabul next if the Twin Harp didn't pan out, so to speak. No pun intended.
I like puns here. Do all the puns you want. I will defend you to the best of my ability.
Don't back down. Intend those puns.
Okay. But I gave the fans a little bit of what they wanted, and when you reward the fans, you reward yourself. And that Darkness Crystal came up. Went and did that grind. It was a little weird. It was a little weird, a little bit of a sigh to see King Queen Eblon in the Ruby spot. Like, oh, why did I have to do this grind? But I wasn't too terribly disappointed considering how smooth the grind went, and I was able to get the double slingshot off. And the underground didn't last all that long, and the pan checks turned out to be exactly what I needed.
Yeah, you had a very fast grind. We were impressed. Antidale has not found darkness yet, and you were underground like seconds after him because he pushed through the upper babble and got through that bonus round. It took a little more than your single nuke, but he got there.
Oh wow. Yeah, I figured he might make an early push after seeing the King Queen Eblon, but I'm surprised that we were so close, even though I did the grind before he got under there.
Yeah, you're having done the grind really pulled ahead in the end.
Yeah, just fantastic executioner in that grind too. Like it's kind of unreal how quick you got through that. Were you specifically counting dragons for nuke?
I knew that 5 or 6 doubles would get nuke. I wanted to do a little bit extra to make sure that Sid got a significant HP pool and Rosa got at least Cure 4 and close to white. And as you saw, a couple bosses after I finished the grind, she did pick up white, and that set me up great for the hybrid strat. I will say I pulled out a secret weapon for this one. I told Antidale before the race I'm making super secret Girl Scout coffee with thin mint flavor, so watch out.
You have my attention.
Well, it seems to have worked, so I think I've got my good luck charm for the rest of the tournament.
All right, you might have to share that with us after the tournament then.
Right. So now that you've evened up at 1-1 going into game 3, are you going to mix up the coffee, or are you sticking with the Girl Scout?
Maybe. I've got some high octane stuff too if I need to crank it up a notch. I definitely knew I had to play my chocobo tail feathers off, so to speak, and I'm glad it turned out the way it did, and looking forward to round 3 on Thursday.
Yeah, you definitely played well.
Thank you.
Any final thoughts on the seed?
Not really. Just breathing a sigh of relief that the show does go on, and I live to fight another day. Thanks to the behind-the-scenes crew, commentary, trackers, restreamers, and all the racers that are still making this the best tournament to date, I think.
Yeah, thanks for racing and letting us restream you.
Awesome.
And that was tonight's winner, Coffee and Chocobos.
Yeah, big win there, forcing, as we've mentioned, the game 3, making sure this series is not going to end until Coffee and Chocobo says so. So, yeah, really just dominating victory here tonight, playing the seed exactly how it needed to be played, everything just falling into place, and really shows with that incredibly low time there.
Yeah, and we see Antidale is taking trap chests in the Sylph Cave, trying to get some levels. The other popular grind for this sort of situation might be trapdoors over in the sealed cave.
Yeah, kind of a dangerous setup here, running into those ghost formations, but he has that thing set up just right so that Paladin can get that quake off before those ghosts can spam their fire too. So very heads-up play there by Antidale.
And Antidale has returned to Troya. Is he going to go for it?
I'm not sure. It's looking like he might.
That Palom is pretty low on hit points. He's only level 40, but 1,200 hit points is enough if you're doing those fancy 1,200 HP strats.
Yeah, right you are. This is going to be a much more difficult fight here for Antidale than it was for Coffee and Chocobos. But I really like the boldness here from Antidale. Obviously, at this point, he knows that his opponent has finished, but is still going to give it a go and put on a show here. I like this.
Or maybe not yet.
Okay, we were getting excited a little too early. Just doing some shopping. It's fine.
So, if you're Antidale, the only checks you have left right now are music and the Fame Arch bosses, I think. You have Go mode. Do you bother looking for moon access?
If it's me, I do, but that's because I don't have a ton of personal confidence in a lot of the low-level Aroma strats. Antidale, on the other hand, is an extremely high-tier runner. So I think he might be a little more inclined to put off looking for the Darkness Crystal and try to deal with the hand that he's dealt.
Yeah, and we see a lot of shop checks happening now, so he's probably looking... Oh, he's trying to buy a bunch of Star Bells, so we could be seeing low-level strats.
Yeah, it looks like it. That's
liquidating the inventory. And, that spoon's only real utility for him right now is the 5,000 gold, since we don't have an Edge, we don't have an Edward, and even if we did have an Edward, he can't use a spoon on these flags. Battle speed 6, putting on more magic defense gear. Maybe we're going this time.
Yeah, looks like even though that is a low amount of HP for Rosa, putting all that magic defense gear, like you mentioned, on her, plus her naturally high will, means that she is a much better chance of surviving Big Bang if one slips through unnerfed. It's still not something that you're going to want to do. You're going to want to nerf every single one of these Big Bangs at these HP totals.
Yeah, this is going to be real hard. Chat commenting on the pink menus. Yes, this is the official menu color of the Pinktail group in the top 16. It is taken from the person who did this group, Dia, who is well known for her hot pink menus.
Yeah, there are a lot of great color combinations you can get. A lot of runners have their own signature style when it comes to menus, but Diaz is definitely one of the most prominent.
Yes. It is just legible enough to be allowed.
Yeah.
Rules for the tournament. You can have any menu color you like, as long as we can actually read it.
And Antidale giving us a little runaway dance there. Goes the crystal, so we can get Kid Dynamite back in here. So this is where you can sort of really see Sid's usefulness, even in going into the late game here. Without any sort of grind going on, Sid is still in a comfortable HP range where even if a Big Bang does slip through unnerved, he's reasonably likely to survive it if he's at full HP. So he might be able to pull the party back from the brink in case things go awry.
Yes, Sid is a very good tank. Higher levels Young is also a very good tank. His hit point growth goes through the roof.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've got Young like right at the cusp of that kind of curve where he sort of catapults into insanity as far as damage and HP goes.
Yeah.
But Sid gets there a little bit earlier. Well, as far as HP, maybe not damage.
Yeah, high level Yang will deal more damage than high level Sid.
Absolutely.
At some point, a good pair of fists just outclasses the rune axe. Or like a samurai bow with Artemis arrows, or whatever you want to throw on that Sid.
There goes the virus. That's not only going to get the counter nuke. Oh, and nice. It lands on the reflected character. You always love to see that.
Free damage is free damage.
Indeed. Plus, that's less damage you have to heal yourself.
Also true.
And this is going to trigger another counter nuke. Oh, wow. That also hits a reflected character. Fantastic.
You know how we were talking about luck?
Is everyone reflected?
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me. These strategies involve walling everybody so that you can get as many reflected nukes as possible.
Yeah, that makes way more sense. Not a strategy that we see very often, but it seems to be working pretty well here so far.
Yeah, and I was curious why he bought all those Echo Notes, and now we're seeing it. Echo Notes apparently count as a magic attack for the purpose of the counterattack script.
Speaking of things you don't see very often, the Echo Note animation.
Yes, you don't normally see that item used very much in Free Enterprise. Why would you use that when we have access to heal potions?
Yeah, if you're not familiar with sort of the changes they made between what we initially knew as Final Fantasy II and the Japanese version Final Fantasy IV, there were individual restoratives for every individual status, but those all just got rolled into heal potions or remedies in Final Fantasy II US. Still in the game, just dummied out, but
yes.
just
While
one
we
of
were
the ways
talking,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say, while we were talking, Tella was trying to help out, threw out a virus, did like 170 damage. He's helping.
Good job, old man.
Still deals more damage than Edward.
Honestly, with that low of a damage roll, he might do more damage with the dot portion of it than the actual direct damage.
Quite possibly. But we do have tomorrow's Restream assignments just came out. Do we want to go through those and get people hyped up for tomorrow?
Yeah, certainly. I've got them pulled up right here. Tomorrow, it looks like we have a grand total of 4 races being broadcast. At 8 p.m. on the Free Enterprise channel, we're going to have Baka Shinobi versus Penguinator. That is an elimination match. potentially. It's the second match of their series. Aizen Tayama versus Zyrak is going to be 8 p.m. on the Randomania Network. That is going to be their first match. We've got a Stone Dingley versus Zilch. That's going to be on RPG Limit Break. I believe that is also their first match.
Yes, that is their first match. The only other potential elimination match is Baka and Penguin.
Yeah, gotcha. And Slippery versus Pankraz. That is going to be at 9 p.m. on the Randomania Network as well. So yeah, definitely check those races out. We're going to have tons of them going throughout the week, and we'll get as many of them broadcast to you as possible.
And yeah, again, all those are Eastern Daylight Time, GMT -4 for those of us in international markets.
Thank you for accounting for my unfortunate Eastern Time bias.
I live on the West Coast, and I've traveled a bit, so I think about time zones. I just realized the irony of fighting Mike Tysonmus and healing his ears in the process.
That's true. Echo Note is, like you said, an ironic pick for what to be using in this instance.
Yes, normally it heals the mute status, which is, yeah.
The 90s were wild, weren't they?
The 90s were an interesting time. In a more different kind of interesting than we have today. Yeah. Kind of the golden age for Japanese RPGs, I think.
Oh yeah, undoubtedly.
The SNES and PlayStation 1 eras have some great classics. I will freely admit to being a bit spoiled. My first JRPG was Chrono Trigger.
Oh, lucky.
What was it for you?
Super Mario RPG, actually.
Also a very good one.
Yes.
Fairly silly, though.
Oh, yes. Hey, there's that Cure 3 we found earlier, finally coming into use.
Yep. I think Antidale also bought some additional ones, so it might be the freebie, it might be a store-bought Cure 3, who can say for sure?
I choose to believe it was the one that was found. It's got more character. You'd keep that at the top of the pile.
Yeah, it's better storytelling if it's the freebie.
Exactly, yeah.
We have to have a sense of drama here. It's not just memes on Free Enterprise.
Precisely, yeah. We very much care about the theatrics.
Which is why we have Edward in our party. Wait.
So all of tomorrow's matches will be broadcast in Iambic Pentameter.
I was informed that the commentary was all going to be in the form of haiku.
Oh, I think if some wires got crossed, we might have to discuss that. We'll get back with you, chat.
Well, fortunately, neither of us are in comms tomorrow, so we don't have to deal with it.
That is somebody else's problem.
Good old SEP field. But meanwhile, Mike Tyson is still casting lots of nukes. We are still bouncing lots of nukes back. This fight is going fairly smoothly, if slowly.
Yeah, you can sort of see here, while this is a completely viable strategy, it's one that you would only use if you're in a situation that Antidale is in here, where you do not have access to a grind that's going to save time over it. So this is really kind of the last resort sort of strategy. Definitely something to keep in your pocket, but not something you want to be doing all of the time if you can avoid it.
Yeah, it definitely requires good knowledge of the fight scripts as well, since if you get a black hole at the wrong time and don't have your star bales queued up, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, right you are. The nice thing, though, is because you're going to get that reflected counter nuke, you're going to get that HP skip. You won't go into the second AI scripts. You won't have that really awkward moment you have in a lot of Z fights where suddenly you're flipping scripts, but you're not sure what AI script you're at, particularly if you've gone past that mile marker or not, and then all of a sudden you're getting hit with an ability you're not expecting. We don't have to worry about that so much here, but yeah, you still have to have an intimate knowledge with that script.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the HP refill happens on a non-damaging effect. Somebody who's more familiar with the scripts than me would have to dig into it.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I had assumed that it would, but this is the first time I'm actually seeing this strategy in action. So it's very likely that it doesn't, and we might have to go through the entire HP pool here.
Where's Axel, and we can get him on the job. Our resident data miner. If you folks haven't joined our Discord already, please join our Discord. We've got a great community. We have lots of fun. We're silly, we're helpful, and it's a good place to meet other people in the community and chat about this neat game that Boardface has built.
Absolutely, and learn new ways to just break the heck out of it.
Yeah, I think some of the tech developed for Free Enterprise has made its way back into the vanilla speedrun. Like the frog trick for D-Lunars is what I'm thinking about in particular.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's a very, very good one to have.
Yeah, although I guess you wouldn't really do D-Lunars in the vanilla speedrun unless you were like doing 100%. Either way, there's some neat stuff about this game that we would not have discovered if not for Free Enterprise.
Yeah, right you are. I think our understanding of how agility works has definitely gone up since we've had to manipulate it so much here in Free Enterprise.
Oh yeah, the ATB system in this game, you could write papers about it. Probably it's just that complicated.
Yeah, it's a thing.
What I usually try to just remember when I'm racing is try to hit those breakpoints where things just work out nicely on the math, or just hope that you can take advantage of the fact that no given actor in a combat can be more than 5 times faster than your anchor character.
I like to think that the reason they don't have an actual ATB bar in this game for your characters is because if we could actually see it filling up, it'd be going in every single direction.
Going in every single direction, possibly at the same time.
Yes.
It just like, oh, and is that the Flash?
I believe so. The kid is down. The new heavyweight champion of the item reflex strats is Antidale, finishing in second place here at 126.02. Still very respectable time for one of these flag sets. And I believe we're joined by Antidale.
Indeed you are.
Hey, welcome. GG, sorry it didn't go your way, but how did you feel about that seat overall?
I was just really hoping that music wouldn't have value, but I'm glad for chat that and for CNC that making the play for music and making chat happy definitely worked out way better than being a selfish person like I was.
Would you like to know what the song was?
I will find out in a few minutes.
Okay. Well, we won't spoil it. But it was really interesting. There was two major routing decisions. Essentially, what each of you decided to skip here. You skipped music. CoffeeAndChocobos skipped Evelyn, and that kind of was the deciding factor in the race. So really, just one decision there sort of made the difference. How did you feel about routing? What were your kind of thoughts on why you decided to skip music, and what you ultimately ended up doing?
I'd already seen that the boss was free boss at the second spot, so I felt like music was a bad gamble overall in terms of percentages. So I decided to not do it. And was feeling pretty good until the dot done came in as I got the pass and realized that clearly I had missed something very important. And since I had found Demus on the way down, it couldn't be that. So it was either a magma key or a darkness crystal probably there. And CNC totally confirmed for me in the race room afterwards that I had indeed skipped out on a darkness crystal.
Very fair. Both of you did end up with the same final party in the end. He did for your traditional hybrid strats. You did the nifty new tech around 1200 hit point strats. How is that looking? It seems very intense and hard to pull.
It's actually pretty straightforward with that party composition. I mean, you ideally like to have 5 people, all the 1200 HP thing, just so that you see a little bit less and you have it's a little bit more straightforward. But even for there, like it's way simpler than Eddie's strats. There's less counting. There's less making sure you do everything perfectly. It's pretty straightforward overall.
Fair enough. So you are 1-1. What are you going to do to make sure you win on your next race?
Try and do better. I'll have to look at see exactly whether there are some other little things that maybe ate time. I know I lost about 5 minutes to a couple of silly things.
Yeah, you had a couple unfortunate wipes with not a recent save.
Yeah, and the walking into mist without without remembering I had the package and not having a recent save and not remembering how far back it was, so you eat the time for the cutscene.
We were wondering why you sat through the cutscene for the Sid.
I knew I had done shopping without saving, and I didn't remember exactly when the last save was. So
Gotcha.
much better to eat the time than to reset further back, more than the time that you're going to eat there.
Yeah, perfectly reasonable. Well, yeah, we're really looking forward to game 3. Like we said, even given the the second place finish here, still a phenomenal time on these hard flag sets, and yeah, really looking forward to your final match. So best of luck, and thanks so much for showing what you got for us tonight, Antidale.
Yep, thank you both for the commentary, and thanks Demi for rolling us that seed, and Yosef for doing the tracking. And hopefully I can come back and at least put up a good showing in the third match on Thursday. Thanks, everybody.
On Thursday, my bracket depends on you.
Looking forward to it. Take care, Antidale.
Good night.